Let me start with a small moment that may surprise you. 2 days ago, I was walking through a quiet park near my home. The sun was soft, the wind was slow, and the birds were singing in a very peaceful way. Everything felt calm. But suddenly, I heard a young man talking loudly on his phone. He sounded upset and a little confused. He said, "I cannot understand these English videos. They speak too fast. I try and try, but my brain feels tired. I think I will never learn." When I heard this, I stopped for a moment. I looked at the trees, I looked at the sky, and I thought, this is exactly why today's lesson is important. Because so many people feel the same way when they try to learn English. They feel lost. They feel unsure. They feel like English is a big mountain that they can never climb. And maybe you sometimes feel that too. Maybe you also feel nervous when you listen to something in English. Maybe your heart beats a little too fast when you cannot catch a word. Maybe your mind becomes tired quickly. And that is okay. You are not alone. You are not behind. You are simply learning. Hi friends. Welcome back to our English learning channel. I am so happy you are here with me today. My name is Sarah, and today we are going to spend a long, relaxing time together practicing English in a very simple and natural way. You do not need to understand everything perfectly. You do not need to study hard. You only need to listen. Listen with calm ears. Listen with an open mind. And let the English slowly enter your brain. Today's practice will help you become more confident in listening, more comfortable with natural English, and more free when you speak. You can sit back, you can lie down, you can take a walk, or just enjoy a cup of tea. Whatever you want. This time is for you. In today's long listening practice, we will follow a story. The story is about learning English step by step. It is about my everyday life, the people I meet, the things I learn, and the funny moments that happen. Through this story, you will hear real English, simple English, slow, natural, friendly English, the type of English you need if you want to become confident. And the good news is, every part of the story will help your listening grow stronger. Every minute you listen is like giving your brain small exercises, gentle exercises, exercises that slowly build your English muscles. So, let us begin our warm introduction in a comfortable way. Imagine you and I are sitting together in a cozy room. The lights are warm. The air feels gentle. There is no rush. It is only you and me. I look at you and smile because I know you're trying. And trying is powerful. Today, I will guide you step by step. We will use simple words, short sentences, soft rhythm, but we will also learn some new expressions and ideas. Do not worry if some parts feel difficult. That is a good thing. A little challenge makes your brain grow. Just breathe. Listen, and enjoy the story. Let me slowly open the scene of today's journey. It begins on a Monday morning. My alarm clock rang at 7 a.m. The sound was loud and annoying. I opened my eyes with a sleepy face and whispered, "Oh no, not again." I did not want to wake up. My bed felt warm and safe. But I had planned something important. I had promised myself that I would start my week with good energy. So I sat up slowly, stretched my arms, and looked out the window. The sky was still a little dark, but I could see the first soft orange light of the sun. It felt peaceful. I took a deep breath and said, "Okay, new week, new story." I got out of bed, walked to the kitchen, and made a cup of warm tea. I like to drink tea in the morning. The warm smell helps me wake up. I sat near the window and watched the street outside. A few people were walking to work. A woman was sweeping her small shop. A man was riding his bicycle slowly. Everything felt quiet. Everything moved gently. While I was enjoying my tea, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my friend, Mia. She wrote, "Hey Sarah, are you free today? I want to talk to you. Something funny happened." I laughed a little because Mia always has stories. Some stories are silly. Some are strange. Some are surprising. And some are very helpful for learning English. So I replied, "Yes, I am free. Let's meet in the park later." After finishing my tea, I slowly got ready. I put on simple clothes, tied my hair back, and wore comfortable shoes. Before leaving my home, I looked in the mirror and said softly, "Today will be a good English listening day." I like to say small positive things to myself. It gives me strength. Maybe you can try it too. It feels nice. It helps your mind relax before learning. I walked out of my home and felt the morning breeze on my face. The air was fresh. Not too cold. Not too warm. The kind of air that makes you think clearly. I walked slowly towards the park. I like walking slowly because it helps me notice small details around me. I saw a little girl wearing a red jacket holding her mother's hand. I saw an old man feeding pigeons. I saw a stray cat cleaning its paws in the sunlight. All these small things made the morning feel alive. When I reached the park, Mia was already there. She was sitting on a wooden bench, holding a brown paper bag with snacks. When she saw me, she jumped up and waved her hand. "Sarah," she shouted. Then she laughed because she knew she scared me a little with her loud voice. Mia is full of energy. She is always excited about everything. I walked toward her and said, "Good morning, Mia. You look very happy today. What happened?" She grinned and said, "Oh, Sarah, you will not believe this story. Something embarrassing happened yesterday, but it also taught me something important about learning English." I smiled and sat next to her. The park felt peaceful, but Mia's excitement was like a little fire that made everything brighter. She took a deep breath and said, "Okay, listen. Yesterday, I was watching an English movie with subtitles. You know, I always use subtitles. I feel safe with subtitles. But then the subtitles disappeared. Suddenly. Just gone. Like magic. I tried to fix it, but nothing worked. I felt panic. I felt like someone took away my glasses. I could hear the actors talking fast. Too fast. My heart started beating fast. I thought, I cannot understand anything. Why am I even trying? I almost stopped the movie, but then something strange happened. After a minute, I understood one sentence, then another, and slowly, I started understanding more. Not everything, but enough to follow the story. I looked at her and said softly, "That is a big moment, Mia." She nodded and said, "Yes." And I realized something. Sometimes our brain learns better when we stop trying too hard, when we simply listen. I smiled because that is exactly what many English learners need to hear. And maybe you need to hear it too. You do not need to understand every word. You just need to stay calm, listen, and let your brain connect the meaning. It will happen naturally over time. Mia continued, "But the funniest part is this. At the end of the movie, I tried turning the subtitles back on. And guess what? The button was not broken. I had accidentally turned off subtitles by pressing the wrong key. It was my own mistake. She laughed loudly. Her laugh was so loud that a couple walking nearby looked at us. I covered my face because it was embarrassing, but also funny. We both laughed for a long time. Then Mia said, "But I am glad the subtitles disappeared, because it forced me to trust my ears." Sometimes we need a small push, right? I nodded again. Yes, we do. And that, my friends, is how our story begins today. It begins with a mistake, a small accident, something that looked like a problem, but actually became something good, something helpful, something that made listening easier. Maybe you also depend on subtitles. Maybe you feel scared without them. It is okay. Many learners feel the same. But sometimes, giving your brain a chance to listen without fear is the best practice. As Mia and I walked together deeper into the park, the morning sun became brighter. The leaves on the trees looked greener. And our conversation turned into something deeper, something meaningful, something about how the mind learns English naturally when it relaxes. I asked her, "So, what did you learn from this?" She thought for a moment, then said softly, "That my ears are stronger than I think." When she said that, I felt something warm inside, because many learners never realize how strong they already are. They think they are weak. They think their listening is bad. But actually, they are stronger than they imagine. They just need time. They just need small moments of courage. They just need gentle practice. And that is why you are here today. You came to listen. You came to practice. You came to make your English stronger. As we walked, a small dog ran past us chasing a ball. It barked happily, and Mia laughed again. She said, "Look at that dog. So happy. So simple. It does not worry about mistakes. Maybe we should learn from the dog." I laughed too and said, "Yes, maybe you are right." We found a quiet bench under a big tree and sat down. The tree was tall and strong. Its shadow covered the ground like a soft blanket. We could hear the leaves moving in the wind. It was a perfect place to sit and talk. I looked at Mia and said, "Tell me something. When you first started learning English, what was the hardest part for you?" She looked up at the leaves dancing in the wind and said, "Listening. Always listening. Because people speak fast. They connect words. They reduce sounds. They change tone. Sometimes it feels like English is one long sound, not many words." I nodded because many people feel that way. English can sound like one long river of sound, especially for beginners. Mia continued, "But now I understand something. English listening is like music. You do not understand every note, but you still feel the rhythm. And if you keep listening, your brain catches the patterns. Slowly, naturally, without pressure." She was right. English is like a soft rhythm. You do not need to break every word. You just need to let the sound flow. We sat there for a few minutes, watching the sunlight move through the branches. I felt calm. And I thought about you, the listener. I thought about how you are listening right now, maybe with your headphones, maybe in your room, maybe in a bus, maybe before bed. I imagined you quietly focusing, trying to catch every word, trying to understand everything. And I want to tell you something important. You're doing great. You are learning. Even now. even if you feel slow, even if you feel confused. You are learning. Your brain is growing. Your listening is getting stronger. Learning English is not about speed. It is about patience. It is about allowing your brain to grow gently. Just like a plant grows slowly when it receives water, your English grows slowly when you listen. Listening is the water. And today, you are giving your brain a lot of water. I looked at Mia and said, I think many learners lose confidence because they focus too much on mistakes. She nodded quickly and said, yes.
Exactly.
But mistakes are not the enemy. They are the teacher. I smiled because her words were simple but true. Mistakes teach us. Mistakes guide us. Mistakes shape our learning. Then Mia looked at me with a playful smile and said, Okay, Sarah, enough deep talk. Now you must tell me about your week. What happened? Something funny? Something unusual? Something exciting? I laughed and said, Actually, yes. Something did happen. Something small but interesting. So, there we were sitting under the tall tree in the quiet park. Mia was waiting for me to tell her what happened during my week. She had this playful look on her face, the kind that tells you she is ready to laugh at anything. And I smiled because the story I wanted to share was not dramatic, but it carried a small lesson, one of those lessons that hides inside. Simple daily life. I took a sip from my water bottle, looked at the sky, and then said, Okay, listen. This happened on Wednesday. I was teaching an English class online. It was a beginner class, so I was speaking slowly, just like this. Everything was going well. But then something unexpected happened. Mia leaned forward and raised her eyebrows. What happened? She asked quickly. I paused for a moment to build a little suspense. I enjoy doing that. It makes stories more fun. I said softly. One of my students suddenly froze.
Completely.
She stopped speaking. She looked scared. Her eyes were wide open. She wasn't breathing properly. I thought maybe her internet stopped, but no, she was there. She was just silent. Mia gasped dramatically. Oh no! Did she see a ghost? I laughed and shook my head. No, nothing like that. She froze because she was afraid to speak. She was afraid of making mistakes. Mia sighed and leaned back on the bench.
Ah, yes.
That fear. That terrible fear of speaking English. I nodded slowly.
Yes.
When I asked her a simple question, she looked overwhelmed. And do you know what she whispered? Mia leaned forward again. What? I lowered my voice and repeated the student's words. She said, My English is too bad. I cannot speak. I will mess up. Mia looked a little sad. Oh, that hurts. Because I know that feeling. Maybe you know that feeling too. Many learners do. Maybe sometimes when someone asks you something in English, your mind becomes empty.
You feel shy.
You feel embarrassed. You feel your heart beat too fast. You feel like every mistake is a big disaster, even though it is not. I continued the story. So I took a deep breath and spoke to her very gently. I said, It's okay.
You can take your time.
You do not have to speak perfectly. I am here to help you, not judge you. And then I smiled at her.
Slowly.
Warmly. Mia smiled.
Good.
Because gentle teachers are important. Yes, I said. After I said that, she relaxed a little. But she still looked unsure. I needed another way to help her feel confident. So, I did something simple. I shared a sentence on the screen and asked her to repeat it slowly. Very slowly. Like this. I repeated the sentence aloud in front of Mia, using the same calm voice I used in class. I am learning English step by step. The words were gentle,
soft, slow,
just like a warm wave. Then I told Mia. She repeated it, very quietly, but she did it. And that was the moment everything changed. Mia smiled even wider, because the first step is always the hardest. Exactly, I said. Once she said one sentence, she felt a little better. Then I asked her to say another sentence, and another. And soon as she started speaking naturally, she still made mistakes, but she was okay with it. She understood that mistakes are part of learning. For a moment, neither of us said anything. We just listened to the soft wind and the sound of children playing nearby. The park felt warm and alive. Then Mia said softly, I wish every learner understood this. Mistakes don't destroy learning. They guide learning. I nodded, feeling the truth of her words. Yes, I said. Mistakes are like small lights. They show you where to grow. I turned to look at you, yes, you, the listener, and imagine you quietly listening to this story right now. Maybe nodding. Maybe reflecting. Maybe remembering a moment where you felt scared to speak. So I spoke gently as if speaking directly to you. When you freeze, when you pause, when you feel afraid to speak English, it does not mean you are weak. It just means your brain needs a little comfort, a little support, a little kindness. If you can relax, even for 1 second, your English will come out. Not perfectly, but clearly enough. And that is all you need, step by step. Mia exhaled deeply and said, I really needed to hear that today. I smiled. Everyone needs to hear it. We sat quietly again. The leaves above us moved like waves. The shadows danced around our feet. A group of children ran past us laughing loudly. One of them shouted something in their local language, and the others followed. Even though I didn't understand their words, I understood their joy. Language is funny that way. You don't always need every word to understand the feeling. Mia suddenly said, You know, when I was younger, I used to practice speaking English alone in my room. I would talk to myself in the mirror. I burst into a soft laugh. Really? Yes, she said. I would wear different outfits and pretend I was talking to different people. One day I was a doctor. One day I was a teacher. One day I was a tourist in a country I had never visited. She giggled. Sometimes I felt silly, but it helped me a lot. I nodded gently. Talking to yourself is a great practice. Many learners think it is strange, but it is actually very effective. Mia smiled proudly.
Yes.
And the mirror never judges you. I laughed again at her funny comment. But it was true. Practicing alone, reading aloud, repeating sentences, these small things help your brain get comfortable with English. I decided to guide Mia into a small listening practice, just like I am guiding you now. I said, let's do a small repetition exercise. Very easy. Just to relax. Mia agreed with a big smile. I said slowly, with gentle rhythm, English takes time. She repeated after me, English takes time. I continued, I do not need to rush. She repeated, I do not need to rush. Then I said, I learn step by step. She echoed, I learn step by step. Then I offered the last one. I am doing better than I think. She took a deep breath and repeated softly, I am doing better than I think. I smiled at her and said, and that is true for you. And it is also true for everyone listening. Mia touched her chest and said, wow, that feels calming, like taking a warm breath. Yes, I said softly. Words can be calming. Listening can be calming. When English feels too big, too strong, too fast, this kind of practice brings your mind back to peace. Mia nodded slowly. Then she clapped her hands once and said, okay, Sarah, now tell me the interesting part. You said something happened on Wednesday. Something unexpected. You did not finish the story. I smiled because she was right. I had not finished yet. There was still something to share. So I continued. After class, something unusual happened. I received a voice message from a student I had taught 3 months ago. In that message, her voice sounded excited, happy, full of energy. She said, Teacher Sarah, I just talked to a foreign customer at my job. I understood everything he said, and I answered with confidence. I cannot believe it. I did it. Mia's eyes widened.
Wow.
That must have felt amazing. It did, I said. I listened to her voice message many times. It made me smile every time, because 3 months ago, she could barely introduce herself. She was shy. She was scared. She used to say, my English is terrible. But she practiced every day, slowly, calmly,
Consistently.
and look at her now. Mia sighed with admiration. Stories like that give me hope. They give everyone hope, I said softly. Then something funny happened. A squirrel ran across the ground near our bench, carrying a piece of bread almost as big as its body. Mia pointed at it and whispered loudly, Look, that poor squirrel stole someone's breakfast. I laughed quietly. The squirrel looked at us for a moment with its tiny face, then ran up a tree quickly, disappearing into the branches. Mia said, learning English sometimes feels like being that squirrel. You carry something big, something heavier than you expected, but you keep going, step by step. And finally, you reach the top of the tree. Her comparison was funny, but also strangely meaningful. I said, yes. And the funny thing is, other people might not understand how heavy it feels for you. But you know, and still you move forward. That is courage. We sat for a bit longer. Then Mia said something very soft, almost like a whisper. Sarah, do you ever feel tired when teaching English? I paused for a moment. Her question surprised me a little. Then I answered honestly. Sometimes, yes. I feel tired, not because of the students, but because I want to help everyone. And I worry sometimes. I worry if I am doing enough, if I am guiding them well, if my words reach their hearts. Mia nodded slowly. I understand. You care too much. I looked up at the sky again. The clouds were moving slowly. Yes, I said quietly. But then I meet learners like you.
Learners who try.
Who practice.
Who grow.
And that gives me energy again. Mia smiled softly. And learners listening to this video? I smiled even wider.
Yes.
Especially them. I imagined you again listening carefully. Maybe you are taking this lesson seriously. Maybe you are listening while relaxing. Maybe you feel hopeful. Maybe you feel uncertain. Whatever you feel, you are learning. Then Mia said, Sarah, let's walk a little. I want to stretch my legs. We stood up and started walking slowly along the park path. The air felt warmer now. The sun was higher. We passed a lake where ducks were swimming. We passed tall grass moving like waves. We passed a group of people doing morning exercise. Everything felt calm. As we walked, I told her something important, something that I want you to remember too. I said, the key to good English listening is not understanding everything. It is staying calm when you don't understand. Mia nodded.
Yes.
And trusting your ears. Exactly, I said. When you trust your ears, they grow stronger. We walked past a small bridge and stopped for a moment. The water under the bridge made soft sounds, like whispers. Very calm, very gentle. I said softly, English is like this water. It keeps flowing, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. But if you keep listening, you will learn its rhythm. Mia smiled and dipped her fingers in the water. This actually feels like learning. I laughed softly.
Yes.
A soft flow, not a fight. We stood there for a while. Then she asked, So, what happened after your student sent the message? I said, I sent her a voice message back. I said, I am proud of you. Keep going. And she replied immediately saying, I will. And that made me think. One simple sentence can give someone hope. One simple message can change someone's day. Then I looked at you again, the listener, and whispered gently, So here is your message today. You are growing. You are learning. And you are doing better than you think. As we walked away from the bridge, Mia said, Sarah, I want to practice my listening more. Can we do a small listening exercise right now? Something easy. I smiled. Of course. So I spoke slowly, clearly, like guiding you and Mia at the same time. I said, Listen to this short sentence. I woke up early this morning. I paused, then asked, What time do you think I woke up? Mia thought for a second. 7 a.m. I said, Yes. Good. Then I continued. Listen again. My friend brought snacks to the park. I paused again, then asked, Who brought snacks? Mia said confidently, I did. In the story, I did. We both laughed. Then I said, One more. We saw a squirrel carrying bread. Again, I paused, then asked, What was the squirrel carrying? Mia tapped her chin dramatically and answered, A giant piece of bread. I clapped slowly. Perfect. Those small questions help your brain connect meaning to sound. They train your listening without pressure. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to try. We kept walking and practicing like this for a while. Small questions. Small answers. Simple rhythm. Calm flow. Then we reached the edge of the park where the road began. Cars passed by slowly. People walked with shopping bags. A group of teenagers laughed loudly as they rode bicycles. Life moved around us. Mia said, This was a good morning. I feel hopeful again. I nodded. Yes. And we're just getting started. She leaned closer and whispered playfully, The train moved slowly through the countryside, and the sound of the wheels made a soft, steady rhythm. Emma looked out of the window and felt a calm she had not felt for a long time. The early morning sunlight touched the fields, creating a warm glow that made everything look peaceful. She watched small farms pass by, with wooden fences, narrow paths, and tiny houses surrounded by green trees. It felt like the world was moving, but her mind was finally still. She let out a slow breath, almost as if she were releasing a tiny piece of worry she had carried for weeks. After a few minutes, she noticed an old man sitting across from her. He had kind eyes and a gentle smile that made her feel comfortable, even though they had not spoken. He held a small notebook in his hand, and every now and then, he wrote something in it. Emma wondered what kind of stories or thoughts were inside that notebook. Maybe he was a writer, or maybe he simply liked to capture small moments from life. She wanted to ask, but she hesitated, afraid she might disturb him. The train made a soft turn, and the sunlight shifted, landing directly on Emma's face. She closed her eyes for a moment and listened. The distant sound of birds, the soft hum of passengers, and the gentle vibration of the train felt like a quiet melody. For the first time in days, she felt connected to something bigger than her worries. The old man finally looked up and gave her a warm nod. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" he said in a soft voice. Emma nodded back, surprised that he spoke first. His voice had a peaceful tone, like someone who had learned to appreciate small things. She smiled slightly and replied, "Yes, it is. It feels different today." He looked out the window and said, "Every day feels different if you learn how to notice it." His words stayed with her. They were simple, but they carried a weight she understood. She realized that maybe she had been rushing through life, ignoring the beauty around her because her mind was too full of worry. Emma leaned back in her seat and took another slow breath. She felt a small shift inside her, like the beginning of something new. As the train continued its steady journey, Emma opened her small travel bag and took out a folded piece of paper. It was a letter she had written to herself a month ago, during a very difficult morning. She had written it quickly, with shaking hands, trying to remind herself that life could still be gentle. She unfolded the paper slowly, almost afraid to read the words again. But when she looked at the handwriting, she felt a strange mix of sadness and strength. The letter said, "One day, you will breathe again without feeling tired. One day, you will see something beautiful and feel joy without forcing yourself to pretend. Be patient. You are learning." Emma read the words carefully, whispering them in her mind. She could remember exactly how she had felt when she wrote them. Lost, overwhelmed, and unsure of what direction her life was going. But now, on this train with sunlight and quiet fields outside, the words felt different. They felt real. They felt possible. She folded the letter again and placed it gently on her lap. She didn't put it back in the bag right away. She wanted to hold on to it a little longer, as if the paper itself was carrying a memory she needed to feel. The old man noticed the delicate way she touched the letter and smiled kindly, but he didn't ask anything.
Emma appreciated that.
Sometimes silence feels more respectful than questions. A child sitting 2 rows ahead giggled suddenly, breaking the quiet atmosphere in a soft and innocent way. Emma looked at him and felt a warm spark inside her chest. The little boy was playing with a small toy train, making it move along the seat as if he were guiding a real journey. His mother looked tired but patient, gently reminding him to keep his feet off the seat. Emma admired her calm voice and wondered how many mornings that mother had spent balancing responsibility and love at the same time. The train slowed slightly as it approached a long bridge. When Emma glanced outside again, she saw water stretching far in both directions, wide, calm, and reflecting the sky like a giant mirror. She felt the faintest chill, not from the air but from the realization that she loved quiet places like this. She loved wide spaces that made her breathing feel deeper. She had forgotten this about herself. The old man spoke again, his voice barely louder than a whisper. "It is a good day to remember who you are," he said while keeping his eyes on the water. She turned to him, surprised, wondering if he had somehow read her thoughts. She didn't respond immediately because she didn't know how. But after a moment, she gave a gentle nod, and he seemed to understand everything she couldn't express with words. The train left the bridge and continued forward, but something inside Emma had already begun to shift direction. The train rolled into a quieter part of the countryside, where the fields stretched wider and the trees stood farther apart, giving the land a peaceful, open feeling. Emma felt the change in the scenery as if the world were slowly opening its arms. She rested her head against the window and watched the tall grass bend gently in the wind. Each movement looked soft and slow, like a silent dance happening only for those who chose to pay attention. After a moment, she noticed a small station coming into view. It was not a busy one, just a wooden platform, a single bench, and a faded sign with half-erased letters. The train stopped there for only a minute. A young woman stepped in, carrying a large backpack and holding a travel cup in both hands. She looked tired but hopeful, the kind of tiredness that comes after long planning and long waiting. When she sat down near Emma, she gave a polite smile that Emma returned gently. The train started moving again, and Emma felt a soft shift in the air, as if new energy had joined their small space.
The
young woman took a slow sip from her cup and whispered something like a small prayer, maybe asking for strength, maybe asking for courage. Emma felt a connection to her, two strangers traveling for reasons that were different but somehow similar. Both searching for something, both carrying invisible burdens. The old man glanced at the young woman, then at Emma, and gave a warm, knowing smile, as if he understood their silent stories without needing to hear a single detail. Emma found comfort in that smile. It reminded her that people did not need to know everything about you to show kindness. A soft announcement echoed through the train, mentioning the next station. The voice was calm, steady, almost soothing. Emma closed her eyes for a brief moment and listened. It reminded her of the importance of slowing down, of breathing, of noticing. She opened her notebook and wrote a simple sentence. "Today, I feel like I am learning how to breathe again." She looked at the words for a long moment. They felt honest. They felt true. She didn't write anything else, because sometimes a single sentence holds more meaning than a whole paragraph. Beside her, the young woman stretched her legs and whispered, "Long journey, isn't it?" Her voice was gentle, not trying to start a deep conversation, just offering a small connection. Emma nodded. "Yes, but I think I needed it." The young woman smiled softly, as if she understood the hidden meaning behind Emma's words. Outside, the land changed again. Emma saw small ponds, quiet roads, and fields dotted with tiny white flowers. The sky looked wider now, brighter, as if it, too, had opened itself little by little. Somewhere inside her, Emma felt a quiet promise rising, a promise of change, healing, and new beginnings. The train moved forward with a soft rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Emma felt that steady sound filling the quiet around her, helping her stay calm. The young woman with the backpack closed her eyes for a moment, resting her head against the seat, and Emma turned her attention back to the window. Outside, the world looked peaceful in a way she had not seen in a long time. The old man slowly leaned forward and adjusted his hat, as if preparing to say something. Emma noticed his gentle movement and waited, not wanting to interrupt. After a short pause, he said in a warm voice, "Journeys can teach us things we don't expect." His words were simple, but they carried weight. Emma looked at him, curious. He continued slowly, "Sometimes we think we are traveling to reach a place, but sometimes the real reason is to reach ourselves." Emma felt those words settle deep inside her. She didn't reply immediately. She just let the meaning sink in. The train clicked softly along the tracks, as if agreeing with him. The young woman opened her eyes and smiled, hearing the old man's words. "That sounds true," she said quietly. "I left home today because I felt stuck. I didn't know what else to do, so I just moved." She laughed a little, the kind of laugh that hides a bit of fear and a bit of hope. Emma nodded. "I think that's brave," she whispered. The young woman shrugged. Maybe it's just me trying not to fall apart." Her voice trembled slightly, but she held herself together. The old man gave her a soft look, respectful, understanding, kind. He didn't say anything more, but somehow his silence felt supportive, like a warm hand on a shoulder. The train passed over a small bridge, and Emma watched the water below, smooth, calm, reflecting the sky. Something about that reflection made her think of herself. She felt as though she was also trying to reflect something peaceful, something steady, even if her heart still carried pieces of confusion and worry. Emma opened her notebook again, but didn't know what to write. Instead of writing a sentence, she drew a tiny line, then another, forming waves, small, gentle waves. It felt right. It felt like her mood, slow but moving. The young woman leaned closer slightly and asked, "Are you an artist?" Emma gave a small smile. "Not really. I just draw what I feel." The young woman nodded. "That's even better," she said softly. Emma looked at her new companions and felt something she had not expected to feel on this journey. Company. Not loud company, not forced conversations, not heavy emotions. Just quiet togetherness. 3 strangers sitting side by side, each carrying their own stories, yet creating a moment that felt shared. The train slowed down as it approached a tiny station with only 2 small houses nearby. No one got off and no one got on. But the moment the train stopped, a cool breeze entered through the small window opening, carrying the scent of flowers. Emma breathed it in slowly. It felt fresh, almost new, almost like possibility. When the train started again, the young woman looked out and whispered, "I think I needed that air." Emma's agreed. "Me too." The old man chuckled softly. "Even the smallest moments can give us strength," he said. "We just have to notice them." Emma felt something warm rise in her chest. That sentence, "we just have to notice them," felt like something she would carry beyond this train ride. It felt like a reminder she didn't know she needed. The world outside stretched into open fields again. The sun was now a little lower, touching the tops of the trees with soft gold. Emma watched as the colors changed slowly. She thought about her life, about the fears she had, about the future she didn't understand yet. But in that moment, she felt a little more ready, a little more grounded. The young woman shifted in her seat and asked gently, "Are you traveling far?" Emma nodded. "Yes, but I think the distance is helping me." The young woman smiled. "Sometimes miles are medicine," she said quietly. Emma repeated the words in her mind. Miles are medicine. They made sense to her now. The old man looked out the window, his eyes reflecting the light. "You too are learning something today," he said with a proud smile. "Sometimes learning doesn't happen in classrooms. Sometimes it happens right here in moments we don't plan." Emma felt her heart open a little more. She realized that this simple train ride had become something else, something deeper, something meaningful. She didn't know what the next hours would bring, but she trusted the journey more now. And as the train continued forward, she felt herself moving forward too, slowly, gently, but surely. The hours of the day were slowly moving forward, and the light outside the train began to change even more. The sky, which was bright a little while ago, now had a softer tone. It looked like the world was preparing for evening, stretching its colors gently across the clouds. Emma watched the sky with quiet attention, almost as if the changing light were speaking to her in a language she could finally understand. Inside the train, everything felt steady and warm. The old man sat peacefully, his hands resting on his cane. The young woman leaned back into her seat, holding her cup close, as if it was something that kept her grounded. Emma could feel the calmness among the three of them, and she let it settle in her chest, helping her breathe a little deeper, a little slower. After a few quiet minutes, the young woman turned to Emma again. "Do you ever feel like you're running away from something?" she asked softly. Emma looked at her and thought about the question. She didn't want to pretend or hide anything. The journey had already opened her heart more than she expected. "Yes," Emma whispered. I think I'm trying to escape the noise inside me." She didn't mean real noise, but thoughts that felt loud, emotions that kept shouting, worries that refused to stop. The young woman nodded with understanding. "Me too," she said. "Not the outside world, just the noise inside." The old man smiled gently. "We all carry noise," he said. "But sometimes the world gives us silence, just so we can hear ourselves more clearly." Emma let those words stay with her for a moment. She looked at the old man, seeing the peaceful depth in his eyes. She wondered how many journeys he had taken in his life, how many moments like this he had seen, and what kind of wisdom he had collected through the years. The train reached another station, a bigger one this time. People walked outside with bags, baskets, phones, and hurried steps. Some got on the train, some got off. The noise from the passengers came in for a moment, filling the space with movement and voices. But as the train doors closed again, the soft quiet returned like a familiar friend. A mother with a young child sat a few seats away now. The child looked excited, pointing at everything he could see: trees, signs, animals in the fields. Emma smiled at his curiosity. It reminded her of when she was younger, when every small thing felt like a story, and every moment felt important. She missed that feeling sometimes. The young woman noticed the child, too, and gave a small smile. Kids notice everything, she said. Maybe that's why they're happy. Emma nodded.
Yes.
They don't worry about tomorrow. The old man chuckled. Ah, that is true. Children live in the moment. Adults, we live in yesterday or tomorrow, and we forget today. Emma felt a soft ache inside her when he said that. She had spent so much time thinking about her past mistakes and future fears that she had forgotten how to sit in the present. A gentle wind came through the small window opening again, brushing against Emma's face. She closed her eyes and let the air touch her skin. It felt cool and light, like a reminder to stay here, in this moment, in this breath. The child on the train giggled suddenly. He was trying to count the cows outside but kept losing track. 1, 2, 4, 6 cow, he shouted proudly. His mother laughed, and even the young woman smiled. Emma felt her heart warm at the innocent joy in the child's voice. The young woman whispered, "You know, seeing him makes me want to start over. Just a little. Maybe I can learn to see life like he does."
Slowly. Simply.
With curiosity. Emma felt inspired by her words. "Maybe we all can," she said gently. The old man leaned back and looked out the window. "Every day is a chance to start again," he said. "You don't need a new year, a new month, or even a new week. You just need the courage to begin from where you are." Emma let the words settle inside her like a quiet promise. She didn't know exactly what she wanted to change about her life, but she knew she wanted to start something new, something peaceful, something meaningful. Maybe that was the real reason she got on this train. Outside, the sun lowered further, turning the sky into soft shades of orange and pink. The trees were now shadows, moving gently in the wind. Emma felt the world slowing down with her, matching her heartbeat. The young woman took a deep breath and said, "I think I'm ready. Maybe not for everything, but for the next step." Emma nodded. "That's enough," she said. "One step is enough." The old man smiled proudly at both of them. "Yes," he said softly. "That is how all journeys begin. Not with 1,000 steps, with one." Emma looked at the horizon, glowing softly outside her window. In that moment, she felt something inside her shift quietly, like a small door opening. Hope. Not loud hope, not big hope, but a gentle, steady hope that fit exactly into the empty space she had been carrying. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was moving towards something, not running away. The train continued forward, and so did she. The soft evening light continued to spread across the land as the train moved forward. The colors outside the window were now deeper, richer, almost magical. Emma watched the sky slowly paint itself with shades of gold, orange, and a quiet purple that seemed to whisper stories of its own. She felt calm, deeply calm, in a way she hadn't felt in months. It was as if the journey itself had wrapped her in a gentle blanket of peace. Inside the train, a soft quietness remained. The child who had been giggling earlier now rested against his mother's arm, slowly drifting into sleep. His tiny breaths were steady and peaceful. The mother gently stroked his hair, humming something quiet and soothing under her breath. Emma watched them for a moment and felt a warm softness in her chest. Sometimes the world looked harsh, heavy, and full of noise, but moments like this reminded her that there was still tenderness, still love everywhere. The young woman with the backpack stretched her arms lightly and took another sip from her travel cup. She had a thoughtful expression now, like someone who had spent the last few minutes searching inside her heart. Emma waited quietly, not wanting to break the calm. After a moment, the young woman spoke, her voice gentle but steady. "You know," she said, "before I got on this train, I felt completely lost. I thought if I kept moving, maybe I would forget the things that hurt." She let out a soft breath. "But I think maybe forgetting is not the answer. Maybe I just need to learn to carry things differently." Emma turned to her and nodded slowly. "I understand," she said. "Sometimes I think the same. I want to leave everything behind. But maybe we don't have to leave everything. Maybe we just have to learn how to live with the pieces we cannot change." The old man smiled warmly at their conversation. "Life doesn't expect us to forget," he said. "Life asks us to grow, even from the difficult things." His voice carried the weight of experience, not heavy, but wise. It made Emma feel seen, even without explaining anything. A soft vibration traveled through the train as it crossed another long stretch of track. The sound was gentle and rhythmic, almost like a lullaby. Emma closed her eyes for a moment and let the vibrations settle into her bones. It made her feel grounded, like the earth itself was reminding her she was still here, still moving, still capable of change. When she opened her eyes again, she noticed the reflection of her own face in the window. She looked calmer, softer, almost like a different version of herself, one she didn't mind seeing. For the first time in a long time, her own reflection didn't feel like a stranger. She smiled softly at herself. The young woman noticed and smiled too. "Your face looks peaceful," she said kindly. Emma laughed quietly. "Maybe the train is fixing me." The old man chuckled. "Trains have a way of doing that," he said. "They take us away from the noise and show us a different view. Sometimes a new view is enough to remind us who we can become." Emma turned back to the window and watched as a small group of birds flew across the glowing sky. Their wings moved steadily, gracefully, like they knew exactly where they were going. She admired that. She admired the idea of moving forward without fear. The young woman leaned forward slightly and asked, "Do you think everyone knows their path? Or do some people just walk and hope?" Emma thought about it. "I think some people know their path," she said slowly, "but many people just walk. And maybe that's okay. Maybe walking is enough. The path appears when we keep moving." The old man nodded proudly.
Yes.
"That is wisdom," he said. "Life reveals itself step by step, not all at once." Emma felt proud that her words had meaning. She wasn't used to thinking of herself as someone who said wise things. But maybe this journey was helping her see a different side of herself, a side that had been quiet for too long. A small announcement played in the train again. The voice was soft and calm, telling the passengers about the upcoming station. Emma listened carefully. She realized she wasn't rushing anymore, not mentally, not emotionally. For the first time in days, her thoughts were slow, gentle, and steady. The sky outside grew darker, but in a peaceful way. The deep colors of evening wrapped around the fields, creating a soft blanket over the land. Lights from small houses appeared in the distance, glowing like tiny stars on the ground. Emma felt a warm feeling inside her chest. "This is beautiful," she whispered to herself. The young woman nodded, as if she had heard the whisper.
"It is," she said.
"It feels like the world is slowing down with us." The old man looked at both of them with kind eyes. "Evening teaches us something," he said. "It teaches us to let go of the day, to soften our hearts, and to prepare for rest. It teaches us that quiet is not emptiness. Quiet is healing." Emma felt the truth in his words settle inside her like a slow, warm light. The train's movement felt like a gentle reminder that life was not stopping. It was carrying her forward, step by step, moment by moment. She placed her notebook on her lap again. This time, instead of writing a sentence or drawing waves, she slowly drew a simple line of light, just a soft streak across the page. It reminded her of the sky outside. It reminded her of hope. It reminded her of movement. The young woman leaned over to look. "That's beautiful," she said softly. Emma smiled. "Thank you. I think it's how I feel right now." The old man leaned closer. "Then hold on to that feeling," he said. "Feelings are like seasons. They come and go. When you find a warm one, stay with it for a while." Emma nodded, and her heart filled with gratitude. The train continued forward into the gentle, glowing evening, carrying them all, three strangers who were slowly becoming something more. Not exactly friends, but companions on a quiet journey. And Emma felt ready, truly ready, for whatever waited ahead. The evening deepened slowly as the train moved through wide open fields and quiet towns. The sky outside had now turned a deep shade of blue, soft and peaceful, almost like velvet stretched across the world. A few bright stars began to appear, scattered gently above the land. Emma watched them with growing calmness, feeling as if the darkness outside was not scary, but comforting, like a warm hand resting softly on her shoulder. Inside the train, the lights were dim, creating a soothing glow that made everyone seem more relaxed. The old man's eyes were half closed, not asleep, but resting quietly. The young woman sat with her hands folded on her lap, breathing slowly, in a way that showed she was finally letting go of some weight she had been carrying. Emma felt safe with them. Safe in their silence. Safe in their presence. A soft announcement came on again, this time telling the passengers that the next station would be a short stop. Emma listened carefully. She was not getting off yet, but she felt curious about the place they were passing through. The name of the station had a gentle sound to it, like something from a storybook. The train slowed down, and the doors opened. A cool breeze entered, carrying the scent of night air, fresh soil, distant rain, and something sweet like night-blooming flowers. Emma breathed it in deeply and closed her eyes for a moment, feeling it fill her chest. A few people got on the train at this stop. One was an older woman carrying a basket full of fabric pieces. Another was a young man with headphones around his neck. They took seats farther away, but their presence added a soft new energy to the space. Emma opened her notebook again, holding the pencil gently between her fingers. She did not draw anything this time. Instead, she wrote two simple words. "I'm healing." As soon as she wrote them, a soft tear formed at the corner of her eye, not a heavy tear of sadness, but a quiet tear of release. A tear that said, Yes, this is true. She let it fall naturally and did not wipe it away quickly. The young woman beside her noticed, but did not say anything. She simply reached out and lightly touched Emma's arm, a gesture of support without words. Emma looked at her and smiled softly, grateful for the silent kindness. The old man opened his eyes slowly and said in his gentle voice, "Sometimes tears are not weakness. They are the beginning of strength." Emma nodded. She felt no shame, only peace. Outside, the houses grew fewer and the land stretched wide again. The moon was rising now, glowing gently against the dark sky. Its light fell across the fields like a quiet blessing. Emma stared at it, feeling something warm move through her heart. The young woman let out a slow breath. "I feel different," she said quietly. "Less heavy, less afraid." Emma turned toward her. "Me too," she said. "Maybe this journey is changing us." The old man smiled. "Journeys always change us if we let them." For a few minutes, no one spoke. They simply watched the night outside. The train passed through a small forest area, and the dark shapes of the trees moved silently past the window. Their shadows danced slowly, softly, like old memories passing by, but not staying too long. Emma leaned back in her seat and listened to the soft sound of the train wheels turning on the track. The rhythm felt like a whispered message. "You are moving forward. You are moving forward." She repeated the words inside her mind. A little while later, the young woman asked a quiet question. "Do you think it's possible to start life again?" "Not completely, but in small ways." Emma thought for a moment. Then she nodded.
Yes.
"I think every day gives us a chance to start again. Even small changes can make big differences." The old man added, "The secret is to be gentle with yourself. People try to change too fast and then they break. But if you change slowly, kindly, step by step, you grow stronger without hurting yourself." Emma felt those words settle deep within her. She had been hard on herself for a long time, expecting too much too quickly, pushing herself without rest. Maybe it was time to be gentle. Maybe it was time to allow herself to grow slowly. Outside the window, she noticed a small river reflecting the moonlight. The water moved at its own pace, not rushing, not fighting, just flowing. She smiled, feeling a connection to that peaceful movement. Her notebook lay open on her lap. She slowly added a few more words below what she had written earlier. "I am flowing too." The young woman glanced at the notebook and whispered, "That's beautiful." Emma smiled. "Thank you." The train entered a quieter region now. No houses, no lights, just the open night sky above and the soft hum of the train below them. The world felt big, but not in a scary way, in a hopeful way. A way that made Emma feel like there was room for her, room for change, room for new beginnings. The old man looked at both of them with a calm expression. "You know something?" he said gently. "Sometimes, the people we meet for a short time can touch our hearts more than the people we've known for years." Emma felt the truth of that. She had only known these two people for a few hours, yet she felt more understood than she had in a long time. The young woman nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Sometimes strangers save us, without even knowing." Emma breathed in deeply, letting that thought settle. She didn't know where the journey would take her, or what would happen after she reached her destination, but for now, she felt held, understood, and quietly renewed. The night outside grew deeper, but inside her heart, a new light had started to grow. The train continued its steady journey forward, carrying them all into the peaceful darkness. Emma rested her head against the window, closed her eyes, and whispered softly to herself, "I am still here, and I am still becoming." The night had fully settled now, and outside the train window, the world was quiet and still. The moon was high, shining softly over the open fields and small villages. Emma watched its light touch the tops of the trees and the gentle curves of the hills. Everything felt calm, steady, and almost magical. She could hear the soft hum of the train wheels against the tracks, a rhythm that seemed to match her own heartbeat. Inside, the train was quieter than before. Most passengers had closed their eyes or rested silently.
The little child, A.
Few rows away had finally fallen asleep completely, his tiny breath soft and even. Emma felt a gentle sense of peace seeing him so calm. It reminded her of how she wished she could rest her own mind, quiet all the thoughts that often rushed through it too fast. The young woman with the backpack leaned against the window, staring softly at the moonlit fields outside. "It feels safe here," she whispered. Emma nodded.
Yes.
"Safe and calm, like the world is letting us breathe." The old man smiled at both of them. The night has a way of helping people notice what is important. Things we carry during the day, fears, worries, even anger, can seem smaller when the world is quiet. Emma listened carefully, letting his words sink in. They made sense. She realized how much she had been carrying inside herself, how many small fears had made her heart feel heavy. And yet, tonight, with the train moving forward and the moon above, those worries felt softer. Not gone, but softer. Emma opened her notebook again, writing slowly so she could feel each word. She wrote, "I am lighter tonight." She read it softly, almost as if saying it aloud could make it truer. "I am lighter tonight." She repeated it once more, letting her breath match each word. The young woman looked at her and smiled. "I think I feel lighter too," she said quietly. Emma nodded. They didn't need to say more. The silence between them was enough, full of understanding and shared experience. The old man spoke again, softly. "Even a small moment of peace is important. Never forget that. Life is not just about reaching destinations. It's about noticing moments like this, where your heart feels calm, even for a little while." Emma thought about this. She realized that she had been so focused on fixing everything about her life that she had forgotten to notice moments like these. The train moved steadily, the soft sound of the wheels a comforting companion. Outside, the night air carried a gentle breeze that touched the edges of the open windows. Emma closed her eyes and felt it brush her face, feeling alive in a way she had not felt for a long time. "Do you think it's strange," the young woman asked softly, "how meeting strangers can change how we feel?" Emma thought for a moment. "No, I don't think it's strange," she replied. "Sometimes strangers see the things inside us we cannot see ourselves. And just being seen, it can make a difference." The old man nodded. "Exactly. Sometimes the people we meet briefly give us lessons we carry forever." Emma opened her notebook and began to draw small waves under the words she had written earlier. They were soft, flowing lines, like the river she had seen before. Drawing them made her feel calm, as if she could carry the gentle movement of the water inside her heart. The train slowed slightly as it approached another small station. Few lights were on, and the platform was nearly empty. Emma watched quietly as a man carrying a guitar walked along the platform. She imagined him playing soft songs somewhere nearby, filling the night air with music. Even from a distance, it made her heart feel lighter. The young woman whispered, "Music, it's amazing how it can change your mood." Emma smiled softly.
Yes.
Maybe we need music and quiet moments both. Together they help us feel whole. The old man leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. Quiet night, gentle rhythm, these are all teachers. We just have to notice them and let them speak. Emma felt a warm glow inside her chest. She realized she had learned something important tonight. Not a big lesson, but a quiet, steady one. Life did not have to be rushed. Life could move slowly. Life could carry you gently forward, one step, one breath, one small moment at a time. She closed her notebook finally and rested her head on her hand, feeling the calm inside her deepen. The young woman beside her did the same, and even the old man seemed to settle into the soft rhythm of the train and the night. Outside, the stars shone brighter now, scattered across the sky like tiny promises. Emma watched them and whispered softly to herself, "I am still here. I am still moving. I am still learning." The train continued forward through the quiet night, carrying them toward new places, new experiences, and quiet transformation. And Emma felt ready to meet whatever came next, with courage, with hope, and with a gentle heart. The night was deep now, and outside the train window, everything was calm. The moon hung high, casting soft silver light across the fields, the trees, and the distant hills. Emma felt herself completely wrapped in the quiet. The gentle hum of the train, the occasional soft whisper of other passengers, and the rhythmic clatter of the wheels created a peaceful melody that seemed to speak directly to her heart. She glanced at the young woman sitting beside her. The woman's eyes were closed, and her breathing was slow and steady. Emma could see the tension that had once been in her shoulders was gone. It reminded Emma of her own progress tonight, how the journey, the quiet, and the company of strangers had brought her closer to herself. The old man, sitting across from them, opened his eyes slowly. "You see," he said in his calm, gentle voice, "the world gives us small gifts. Sometimes it is sunlight. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is a short conversation or the presence of strangers. All of it teaches us something if we notice." Emma nodded. She thought about the letters she had written, the words she had drawn, and the feelings she had slowly released tonight. She realized that even small moments, the gentle wind, the glowing moon, the laughter of a child, had taught her something important. The young woman stirred and whispered, "I never thought a train ride could feel like this, like it could heal a little." Emma smiled softly. "I think healing doesn't have to be big or loud. Sometimes it's very quiet. Small steps, small moments that slowly make you lighter." The old man leaned slightly forward, his eyes warm and wise. "Life is full of journeys," he said. "Some we plan, some we don't. But each one carries lessons. Not lessons written on paper, but lessons written in our hearts." Emma listened, feeling every word. She understood now that the journey wasn't just about reaching a destination. It was about noticing, feeling, and learning along the way. She closed her eyes and thought of everything that had happened during this train ride. The sunlight in the morning, the letters she had written, the rivers, the moon, the conversations, the quiet moments. Each one felt like a thread in a larger story, weaving together into something gentle but strong. The young woman opened her eyes and looked at Emma. "Do you think we will forget this?" she asked softly. Emma shook her head gently.
No.
Moments like this don't leave you completely. Even if you forget the details, you remember the feeling. And that feeling stays with you forever. The old man nodded.
Exactly.
Feeling is the teacher. Memory is just the shadow.
Emma thought about that.
She realized that she had spent so much time trying to remember and plan everything, worrying about mistakes and what might happen. But the old man was right. What mattered was the feeling inside, the quiet understanding that she could grow, heal, and move forward. Outside, the train passed through a small forest bathed in silver moonlight. The shadows of the trees moved slowly, creating patterns on the window. Emma felt peaceful watching the slow dance of the night. It reminded her that life moved in its own rhythm. You could not rush it, and trying to force it only caused tension. But if you moved gently with life, step by step, breath by breath, everything became clearer. She picked up her notebook one last time and wrote quietly, "I am learning. I am healing. I am moving forward." The young woman glanced at the words and whispered, "That is perfect." Emma smiled softly. She felt a sense of quiet pride. It was not a loud victory, but a gentle one, the kind that stayed in your heart. The old man spoke one final time, his voice full of calm certainty. "Remember, every day is a journey. Every small moment, every quiet breath, every kind word, every observation, these are all steps forward. You do not have to do everything at once. You do not have to know everything. You only have to notice and move gently." Emma looked out at the night sky, the stars shining softly above. She felt her heart lighter, calmer, and ready. She realized that she had already begun to change, in ways she could feel but could not yet fully see. The train moved steadily forward, carrying them all toward morning, toward new beginnings, and toward life unfolding in small, gentle steps. Emma rested her head against the window, closed her eyes, and whispered softly to herself, "I am ready. I am learning. I am moving forward." The night embraced them, soft, steady, and full of promise. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt truly at peace. The first light of morning began to peek over the horizon, soft and golden, spreading slowly across the fields and hills outside the train window. Emma opened her eyes and felt a gentle warmth filling the train. The world looked different now, calm, bright, and full of quiet possibilities. She realized that the journey, which had started as a simple ride, had turned into something much deeper, a journey inside herself. The young woman with the backpack stretched her arms and yawned softly. She looked at Emma and smiled. "Good morning," she said quietly. Emma smiled back. "Good morning. I feel lighter today." The young woman nodded.
Yes.
"Me too. I feel like I can finally start again, even in small ways." The old man gave a gentle nod, his eyes sparkling with calm wisdom. "You see," he said softly, "every journey, every quiet moment, every simple observation has meaning. Even if it feels small, even if you think it doesn't matter, it changes you. It moves you forward. It teaches you. And that is enough." Emma looked out the window as the train passed through a village bathed in morning light. Birds flew across the sky, singing their morning songs. Children ran in the yards, and smoke rose gently from chimneys. She realized that life was always moving, always changing, and always giving opportunities to notice, to learn, and to grow. She reached for her notebook one last time and wrote slowly, savoring each word. "I am ready for today. I am learning. I am moving forward." The words felt true. Not perfect, not complete, but true. And that was enough. Emma looked at the young woman and said softly, "Thank you for being here. Even though we are strangers, I feel like this journey mattered because of you." The young woman smiled and replied, "And I feel the same." It's amazing how people can meet for a short time and leave such a big mark on your heart. The old man chuckled softly. "That is life," he said. "Sometimes the people you meet for only a moment teach you lessons you carry forever." The train moved steadily toward its final destination, but Emma felt that the real journey was not just about reaching a place. It was about noticing the small moments, feeling them fully, and allowing them to change her in quiet ways. The sunlight on the fields, the soft conversations, the gentle breeze, the moonlit night, the child's laughter. All of it had become part of her story. She felt a soft smile grow on her face. "I am ready," she whispered to herself. "Ready to face life, ready to move forward, ready to notice and to feel." And in that moment, Emma knew that every journey, no matter how long or short, could carry lessons of hope, courage, and gentle growth. She had learned to be patient with herself, to trust the process, and to see beauty and meaning in small, quiet moments. The young woman packed her things quietly, preparing for the day ahead. Emma did the same. The old man adjusted his hat, smiled at both of them, and whispered, "Remember, life is full of quiet journeys. Keep noticing, keep learning, and keep moving forward." As the train slowed to its final stop, Emma felt ready. She stepped off the train, breathed in the fresh morning air, and looked around at the world with new eyes. She knew she was still learning. She knew life would not always be easy. But she also knew she was stronger, calmer, and more ready than before. And as she walked forward, carrying her notebook, her memories, and the gentle lessons of the journey, she whispered one last time to herself, "I am ready. I am learning. I am moving forward." The morning sun rose fully, bathing the world in light, and Emma's journey continued, not just on the tracks, but in her heart, step by step, moment by moment. Thank you, friends, for traveling with Emma today. Remember, every day can be a journey. Notice the small moments, listen carefully, and move forward gently. Life is full of quiet lessons if we only take the time to see them. And that is our practice for today. Keep listening, keep repeating, and keep moving forward. See you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.